Jungkook, not from the voice that once echoed across stadiums, charged through headphones, and stirred millions of hearts with a single breath. But there he stood, somewhere far from the glare of stage lights, staring at a blank studio wall as if it were asking him the one question he'd been avoiding for years: who do you actually want to be now? It wasn't fear that held him still. It was possibility, because for the first time since stepping into the global spotlight as the golden Maknae of BTS, Jungkook sensed the ground shifting beneath him. Not in a dangerous way, but in a way that whispered that change, real change, wasn't just inevitable. It was calling him by name and he couldn't ignore it any longer. The story begins months earlier, long before the world heard whispers of new music, new ambitions, new versions of the artist everyone thought they understood. The pressure of global fame had not crushed him, but it had carved him into something sharper, more aware, more curious. Every stage, every performance, every award had built a tower around him. A beautiful tower. A towering expectation. A shimmering cage, but Jungkook, quiet, focused, endlessly driven, kept feeling a pull to step outside its borders. As the world praised his flawless vocals, his effortless dancing, his unmistakable star power, he found himself wanting something surprising. Not more attention. Not more applause. Something simpler. Something harder. Something real. He wanted freedom, freedom to explore sounds without worrying if they matched the version of Jungkook the world already adored. Freedom to experiment with moods, styles, languages, personas. Freedom to be imperfect, raw, experimental, and not just the polished global icon of K-pop perfection. He wanted to show different sides of himself, even the sides that weren't yet fully formed. Even the sides that made him nervous, but desire alone doesn't rewrite destiny. Change takes friction. A spark. A moment that shifts everything. That moment came one late night in the studio, long after everyone else had left. Jungkook found himself replaying the same vocal take again and again. Not because it was wrong, but because it felt too right. Too expected. Too predictable. He laughed softly to himself, shaking his head. Am I repeating myself? He murmured, and that's when the realization hit him with startling clarity. Playing it safe was now the risk, staying the same was now the danger, and growth, true growth, meant letting go of who he'd been in order to become who he could be. From that night forward, everything changed. He began digging into genres that had shaped him long before the world knew his name: R&B, soul, alternative pop, subtle EDM. Textures, gritty urban beats that pulsed like a heartbeat beneath the surface. He studied artists he admired not for their fame, but for their fearlessness. He wrote lyrics that felt vulnerable enough to unsettle him, melodies that surprised even his closest collaborators. He pushed past the edges of comfort and into a place where imagination had room to breathe, and with each new step, he felt it. The walls around him weren't closing in, they were opening. But change, especially for someone as beloved and globally visible as Jungkook, came with questions. Fans wondered what direction he was heading. Industry insiders speculated about reinvention, experimentation, a fresh era in the making. And through it all, Jungkook stayed steady, focused, grounded. I don't want to be confined, he finally said during a quiet moment in an interview. I want to show different sides of myself. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't rebellion. It was simply the truth, and it was the most exciting truth he had ever spoken, because as the world leaned in, curious, eager, hungry for the next chapter, Jungkook was no longer worried about expectations. He was crafting new ones. He was stepping into a space where evolution wasn't just allowed, it was necessary. He was preparing music that wouldn't just entertain but reveal. A sound that felt honest. A sound that felt like him. Yet the most powerful twist came not from the music itself, but from the revelation that unfolded within him. For years, Jungkook believed his strength came from meeting expectations, mastering every skill, delivering excellence every time. But now he understood something deeper. Something transformative. His real strength came from change, from daring to try, from daring to fail, from daring to grow in full view of the world. And suddenly, the narrative wasn't about whether Jungkook could reinvent himself. It was about how far he was willing to go to find the truest version of his artistry. Fans felt it. Creators felt it. Even people who weren't fans could sense the shift in the air, that unmistakable moment when an artist breaks out of the known world and steps boldly into the unknown. The world had already seen Jungkook the performer, Jungkook the vocalist, Jungkook the global superstar. But now they were about to meet Jungkook the explorer. Jungkook the storyteller. Jungkook the creator without borders.